I Hate Politics is a podcast about a human activity we love to hate. I'm Sunil Dasgupta. It's Memorial Day weekend, the informal start to summer 2024. Think of this episode as the beach read you should have known about, but somehow missed. Those in local government have long known, but regular folks, we take electronic maps for granted. It's hard to imagine how revolutionary these electronic maps and the data behind them, called GIS, Geographic Information Systems, have been to the functioning of local governments. As the city clerk, you would petition for plats to your property, or the permitting office, which would allow you to replace your fence, or street repair, tree trimming, snow removal, salt use. The GIS map and its cousin, the GPS receiver, have changed City Hall forever. None of this makes government perfect, just vastly different from how things used to be. I asked Yeon Kim, the founding manager of the GIS unit in the city of Gaithersburg, to tell me about a technology that is not widely known and yet so integral to our lives. I'm gonna get to heaven. Music for this episode comes from Damascus, Maryland-based rapper and music producer Cataclysm. Songs used in this episode come from his album Machine Gun Preacher. You can find his music on YouTube at The Reckoning 301.
On a cloud we flying higher than where Beanstalk brothers live. Holla feed fire to the faux phone cannons look just like some handguns. And your man done when that ransom look too handsome. We can't stand son. Come walk with bosses in the peaceful backyard garden. Just had to talk with Harden and the money be the problem. Surrounded by the goblins, the vultures, the rats. Impacted by the culture. I perform with my back to my enemies and I fricassee their carcass. I pass the bone to matches and dispatch some gas.
Yeon Kim, welcome to I Hate Politics.
Thank you for having me, Sunil.
You are, among other things, the GIS manager for the city of Gaithersburg. GIS being the Geographical Information Systems, which is the technical way of saying you do the maps and you make it possible for people to know where things are in your city.
I've been working for the city about 11 years. GIS stands for Geographic Information System. We make a lot of maps and also we work with data layers, databases that's powering the maps and system. And also there are many interfaces to interact with these maps and data.
So when you got to the city to be the GIS manager, what did you find?
I was very surprised that we had a pretty good data repository to begin with. And also another thing that really surprised me was the city had this custom tool that made the city step users to grab data layers so easily. One thing we were still lacking or did not embark on our journey was getting all this information out to the public. So city had no public-facing mapping application.
What is a layer? How do you use it?
We are trying to capture the information and then show them in this screen. And the easiest way for us to do is that, all right, let's capture the road network. And then let's show them as one unit on the map. And the unit is basically called layer. So we capture, digitize these roads. And then we add some information. This road name is Main Street. Its address range is from here to here. And it's maintained by the city, or a certain road is maintained by county. So we start adding all this information that we care about. And then this data that we capture when it comes to GIS, it'll become a unit that we call layer. And the thing is that we get to capture any information that we want as many different data layers. And when we bring them into GIS, we get to overlay them and then say, oh, this road is right next to school. This road close to the shopping center. This road does not have a lot of street trees.
So a physical map is actually a composite of many, many data sets, correct?
That is very correct. Yes.
Can you identify for me some really top and things that you were able to do at Gaithersburg that brought to the forefront how important this was to government?
There are three, maybe four core layers I like to cite. Parcel boundaries, which is property boundaries, address points, where all the addresses are, and the streets layer, and aerial imagery, which picture has linear information. City has access to the aerial imagery collected by state and also county. But as you can imagine, when airplane flies over the city and captures information, there are so much wealth of information that you can grab from there, right? Where all the trees are, where all the inlets, manholes are, and such. So those are four core boundaries. And circling back to your question, I mean, what are the good examples how city uses GIS? I think it comes down to this, can kind of infer from these core data layers. By having property boundaries and also a lot of different data layers, such as floodplains, wetlands, steep soils, and such, those layers our planners use on daily basis when they review any new plans, when development plans, or when they are analyzing certain elements. I think, for example, housing element that we just did for master plan is a good example. Property layers are used in so many different ways. Public works, when they have to go out and trim the street trees and such, sometimes they have a question, is this the one in the actually right of way where city is maintaining, or is it actually in somebody's private property? So all the street trees that we know, and we know that it's city maintained owned trees, are already in GIS system, and the city
Every tree.
It
seems like a Herculean task to count and put in a database every tree in the city of Gaithersburg.
We have really neat technology these days. So if you have a decent under sub-meter or sub-foot GPS, that GPS will talk to a tablet. The smart device will talk to GPS unit and get the accurate information from the unit. So all you have to do is go find the tree, you stand right there, and GPS unit will send the coordinate to this smart device, and we'll have a web map there. So you will actually see background where you are, showing the red dot where you are standing, and then we'll have a form pre-generated.
What are the other ways that GIS has become integral to the functioning of the city of Gaithersburg?
Our special events team use GIS mapping to plan out logistics, where we are setting up individual tent, where equipments are coming, which ones are handled by public works, which ones are by contractor. I mean, the extent of a logistic planning is so large. It is just amazing how much they can handle and how much information they can actually put on the map. Crime analysis and police always does this mapping of activities, crime activities throughout the map, throughout the week on the maps. Public works, I mentioned that we have this asset management system. So public works, when we have a service request, we track them through work order. And this asset management system have a map showing all where city assets are, such as street trees we talked about, where street lights are, where the street signs and ramps and whatnot. Those are all inventoried in GIS, and they show up in this asset management system. So when field crew goes out to street tree and I want to trim this tree, this mobile device will show the map where the tree is, and then the work order, go trim this tree, and then when you're done, just mark it. I got it done. This is the date. No further comment, or maybe there's a further comment. They can put it all there, and then you get tracked. So while the tracking itself is in another enterprise system, this enterprise system work with GIS system so that it works with this our central inventory that we have in GIS.
Another task of GIS, at least stated task of GIS, is to make government accessible to citizens. Can you speak to specific programs that do that in Gaithersburg?
I hope that we have really expanded in that area. A lot of time, those services or programs will come as a more digital form. So I'm talking about mapping applications and web maps that we make it publicly available at the city. We have a flagship application called Address Parcel Information. It's a very simple mission-driven app. You just go in there, you click anywhere in the city, and then we package all the information neatly and gives you, you just click this particular parcel. Its address is this. Owner is this information. If you want to know more about this particular property, we provide you a link to state tax assessment website, county's website, and then based on our data layers, this looks like this elementary, middle, high school district. Your recycling day is Monday, something like that. And then all this information, all you have to just click the address or find the property, and then we provide information.
What is an example of information that is not shareable?
For example, there was no request to share, but we have all the summer camp registrants data that we are actually about to map. We want to know where the services are going. It's for us to plan better how we can provide better services when we map service recipients. But these are all under 18 years old participants, their name and address. Just because we have it, we are not going to put it on the web.
Where are you getting the information about school boundaries specifically? Is that MCPS or?
County school boundaries are maintained by MCPS GIS step.
You talked about getting data from different agencies. I'm just wondering how you get it.
There's a really good example that I want to highlight. That is the city and Montgomery County and MNC-PPC.
MNC-PPC is Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning Commission, often called Parks and Planning.
So we have a GIS division and GIS manager in MNC-PPC, and we also have a GIS division in Montgomery County. So what we have is that we have this agreement and configuration. We are different entities, so we have our own separate network. However, they allowed us a traffic from city to MNC-PPC GIS database server, and also from city to MCGIS database server. So we can actually just go grab the data from those county GIS database server. So it's as if they are in the city's network. I think this is really remarkable that these different local governments were able to set this up so that we can just share the data together.
It is remarkable in one way, but on the other hand, that is entirely my expectation that it should happen.
there's a lot of hoops and hurdles that you have to go through to be able to have that communication between network, because security is a concern, and aligning the traffic. I'm sure it's a little bit of work that our network operations specialists have to do from both ends.
A very critical sort of third element in my mind about GIS is how GIS helps city leaders make better decisions.
Sunil, do you know about what do you know about stormwater program fee? Maybe you can help our listeners.
Well, so I know about stormwater. It's the runoff from properties that is based on impervious surface. So if the more impervious surface there is on a property, there is greater runoff from that property. And if you have high runoff, then I assume there is a fee associated with it. Beyond that, I do not know.
Back in 2003, when the county implemented water quality implementation charge, they were taking care of a city portion for us. So back then, they were using just residential properties and commercial property that draining to residential property. So it was some select set of properties that they imposed the charge. And also, it is universal understanding, this stormwater runoff is basically based heavily impacted on this impervious surface. The program was done in kind of tier level. So if you are residential property, if you are single attached the this is a fee. Townhouse, you tend to be smaller, this is a fee. And if you are commercial, then then they looked at the size and you are equivalent of a 10 residential unit size, and then impose the fee.
If the question is how much impervious surface you have, that's a square foot issue, right? Why does it make a difference what type of housing it is?
Because they did not have the data layer to completely inventory all the impervious city-wide or county-wide. So they were trying to make the next best way to somewhat proportional to impervious without capturing everything. So in 2012, state passed the House bill requiring the local governments, we are responsible for taking care of all this runoff so that we don't get flooded and all the pollutants don't make it to our river and ocean. Were required to establish a program and policy/ordinance to outline how they're going to do that, and also come up with a fee structure to support this program. And when that happened, county wanted to go for a little bit more sophisticated program with more tiers, more distributed effort. And as city, either you come up with the data layers we need, or you're on your own. And the city decides, okay, maybe it's a good chance for us to look at this and come up with our own program. So there were this task force, you could say, different staff members from different departments got together. Also, our deputy city manager was part of leading the effort. We hired a consultant who has many experience and knowledge in coming up with this program. And in this program, so it was a chance for city to look at this program and find out what's the best way to move forward. And when we did that, GIS was used extensively. We sent out all the stormwater management facilities data and drainage areas and such. to our analysis, the company we hire, so that they can find out what we are currently treating, what shall we be treating more, what projects can we do, depending on what project, how much funding would we need. We also looked at, in order to establish this program, how much step effort will be needed. So we are looking at everywhere to figure out the way to build a sound program. And also, if we are to build this program with the step resources and projects that we need to do to meet the mandate, how much funding do we need? And how are we going to come up with that funding? So that's where the stormwater program fee comes into play. And when we were looking at stormwater program fee, we knew we wanted to be as equitable as possible. So at the city, we calculate fee for every property at the city. And also we had a pretty decent impervious features. Impervious features meaning roads, building footprints, sidewalks, driveways, parking lot, you name it, anywhere the rainwater cannot penetrate. We had a pretty good inventory, but we knew that if we are going to use this to ask our citizens, hey, now you have to turn around and pay us $60. I'm just making up the numbers. We wanted to be as accurate as possible. So we had all this information and we presented those information to our mayor and council. Mayor and council, these are all the projects and resources that we need to run this program in sound condition. These are different scenarios that we could raise the fund to support this program. And this is the method that we proposed, that we, the city, we will calculate the fee to everybody. And then we will be based on impervious alone. And we will be as accurate as possible. We don't charge you based on, say, 2,501 square feet. We still divide by 500 and then make it as a billable unit. It allows us a little bit of a room in case, the whatever sidewalk happened to be digitized slightly skinnier or larger. So we have a round up and down, but that rule is applied to every property. So those were presented to council, and when we did that, we showed a comparison. For example, before our proposal, this is how we asked people to pay. There were a good portion of commercial properties that didn't pay at all, who had a gigantic parking lot, gigantic building footprints, you name it, huge impervious. They were not paying anything.
Why though? Why were they not paying?
Because we were following county's role and county was doing the calculation for us. So we were saying that rainwater doesn't differentiate whether it's a residential property or commercial properties. Let's just put everybody in the mix and then let's figure out what they have and let's charge. So that was our comparison, and that's our proposal, and then all the things that we show thanks to GIS data layers and our council members. Yes, that makes sense. Let's charge everybody, and let's charge based on impervious cover. No more, is it residential, is it single detached, no more of other proxies anymore. We went back to the fundamental, in this case, impervious, and then we just focused on it.
Wow. If you use aerial imagery, how accurate are you in calculating impervious surface? Have you tested for the validity of that data?
Well, we do have a lot of plan documents that will actually say this is, say, I'm probably not correct, 20 foot wide this way and 40 feet wide this way.
Okay.
So if we have an actual measurement, we will always use those measurements and then capture them in data layer we talked about, right? Building footprint data layer. Aerial imagery is most often used for whether that feature exists or not. Because it's in plan document does not mean it's built. So we use actually multiple data sources. We will make sure any property we impose this fee has UNO, meaning it had the use and occupancy permit has been issued and somebody actually can move in. Regarding accuracy, when you digitize something from aerial imagery, how accurate is it? Well, it's not going to be as accurate as if you know the dimension from the plan document. But they are pretty accurate. These days, we have a 3-inch resolution aerial imagery.
Wow.
Yeah, if you can imagine, we can see quite well. We can zoom in quite tight. And then, I mean, that's why also we have the 500 square feet of kind of buffer. Again, we don't charge you based on you have 4,631 square feet. We'll divide by 500, and then whatever that 500 round up and down. In this case, I guess 9 billable unit. That's what's going to be charged to compensate for possible little bit of inaccuracy in data capture itself.
Have you gotten pushback?
We had a couple inquiries when we first adopted this program, but we have not received any inquiries or appeals for several years. We still play a very important role by maintaining this data and providing the fee calculation. And that information is all on the website we just talked about. So you can just go like, oh, what did the city GIS team did for my house? You can zoom in, you can see every boundary, every outline of what we identified as impervious for you. And we tell you, this is the square feet we came up with, and this is the fee. So we share everything.
Yeon Kim, thank you for taking the time to explain how GIS works in local government and particularly in Gaithersburg City.
Thank you so much. It was a big pleasure.
Wake your sleeping ass, the day is coming in an instant. Prefer to be consistent with visions that I did begin with. Don't change for Nathan, I'm with Satan in the dormitory.
That's all for this episode of I Hate Politics, where we aim to stem the decline in local news by working with community voices. Don't forget to tune in to our Tuesday morning news analysis next week. I Hate Politics is produced by me, Sunil Dasgupta, and assistant producers Daniel Galileo, Katarina Gasek, and Catherine Amaya Escobar, with support from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I direct UMBC's political science program at the University's Shady Grove in Montgomery County, where, among other things, we explore and learn about politics, government, and society close to home. Music for this episode comes from Damascus, Maryland-based rapper and music producer Cataclysm. Songs used in this episode come from his album Machine Gun Preacher. If you want to share your music on the show or know someone else who might want to, please email us at producer@ihppod.org. I hope you'll subscribe and share the podcast as we bring you stories about politics close to you and to your home. See you next time.
Put that on Miss Gladys, the glass half full, they cannot stand it. I'd rather take my chances with a smile than some grizzly mugging. My cousin got me hip to that, he might be filled with something. A funny substance called patience, love, and the wisdom will have you on a mission for religion, but don't make you that decision.